Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of A Coffee with Chris, the social media show that helps you create impact. As always, brought to you in association with our charity partners, 𝗖𝗵𝗄𝗲, who help local people affected by cancer, and Game Plan Coffee. Paddy and Scott's, we'll come back to them in just a second. Special coffee partnership with the High Performance Foundation. Every single bag of Game Plan you buy helps them support the work of the High Performance Foundation, funding programs that help young people across the UK develop the mindset and tools to thrive in life, not just survive it. If you are like me and you are addicted, here we go, evidence to coffee, and believe in giving people a fair shot at their own high performance, grab yourself a bag of Game Plan coffee. I mean, quite frankly, buy any bag of Paddy and Scott's, by the way. They've actually just sent me a package. Quick pause for the visual viewers here. They are not messing around at Paddy at Scott's. They are absolutely going for it. Big thanks to those guys for believing in A Coffee with Chris and the conversations that we have on this podcast. As always, we are also sponsored by Oliver Hill of Hill Coaching Company, Gemma Crane from Mindset HR, and Callum Howard from Limitless Film and Media. Let's welcome today's guest. It is the head of marketing at Paddy and Scott's, Matt Martin. Paddy and Scott's is a UK coffee brand built on purpose, keyword, combining high quality coffee with real social impact, supporting farming communities and initiatives like Game Plan Coffee. Matt, the reason why I wanted you on, you've built a brand, you've worked in film, you're now the head of marketing at a really awesome brand business organization. What are the biggest lessons that you've learned along your journey in relation to marketing that you would like to share with our audience today?
Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on. And thanks for already plugging Paddy and Scott's. Your boss, John's going to be very happy already, so I'll just leave now, shall I? No, my marketing journey, I guess, started sort of through necessity, really. I was like a 90s kid, into skateboarding, then into parkour, birth of YouTube, 2005, of that era where we were just starting to get our hands on video cameras. Like the phones kind of just about had video cameras on, but you'll remember like the progression of like the 3310 through to, where you got the sort of Sony cameras that were starting to get added into the phones. So I guess I was there at the right time where that sort of marketing became like accessible for everybody. And of course, then it wasn't marketing. It was just recording our mates, like doing fun stuff, skateboarding, parkour, those sorts of things. So naturally, I kind of became like that guy where if you wanted something recorded, like a section for your skate video or a sampler for your parkour, you just came to me and you were like, can you make me a video, please? And that's how it developed. So from about 2011, I developed that into my own business, and it was a clothing brand primarily, and we used film and photography and the clothes to help support parkour athletes. And I guess that is where the marketing kind of kicked in, because it happened as a necessity, had a purpose, and that was to try and create a platform for these parkour athletes and an income equivalent to what skateboard culture had. Skateboarding culture had Vans, it had all the brands about, all these board sales that were contributing towards these pro skaters being able to do it professionally, right? Otherwise, there's no income in it. And we try to do the same with parkour as well. You can't earn a lot of money like jumping off rooftops and things like that, unless you're like a stuntman or you teach others to do it. So the idea was to try and create an economy. So athletes could, a bit like what you get with Gymshark now, they would have a code, they would share that code with their followers, they would get a cut, the customer would get a discount. And so we didn't create that brand to make like a big business and like a marketing machine or anything like that. We did it with a purpose in mind, which was to try and give these athletes the opportunity to carry on doing what they do and earn some money out of it. And I suppose what the key learning from that really was that building the community around it is what made it possible. So like parkour and skateboarding are inherently community-based sports. Like you can do them alone, they're not team sports, but they just sort of magnetize like-minded people together. If you walk into a skate park with a skateboard, like you're leaving with mates. You know what I mean? Like it just naturally builds community. I think it's one of those ones, and you probably get it with most sports, right? Is you going through a hardship, and that tends to bring people together. But also, you're physically in a place together as well. So, yeah, I mean, that, I suppose, back to your question, it didn't really become obvious to me the importance of the community brand building until I actually left that. Like, I stopped doing parkour, and we stopped attending events, and we tried to keep it afloat. And quickly, although we had a really solid, strong community base, like the sales just started to drop off. And when you look back at it, like, it totally makes sense. Like, the heart wasn't in it, that we weren't nurturing this community. So it's difficult to build a community, but once you have it there, it's something that, and it needs constant nurturing, but it's like, they're like gold dust. You know,
let's go into that, Matt. Sorry to interrupt you there, sir. I'm just really passionate about this. That word community gets bandied about loads. Everyone talks about it, or lots of people talk about it in marketing now. You've done it, lived it, breathed it, got the t-shirt. Literally, you're now at Paddy and Scott's, probably doing the same thing, definitely doing the same thing from my observations. What are the kind of key component parts of building a community? How did you go about that? Because I think it is so important for brands to do, but yet if you falsely manufacture it, you don't truly believe in it. As you said, if your heart's not in that community element of your brand, your business, your passion, it almost becomes inauthentic and could potentially detract. But how do you go about building a community, Matt?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're dead right as well. Like, transparency and honesty is so key to it. Like, if you aren't a member of that community, or at the very least don't deeply understand the people that you're trying to bring in, they're going to see right through it, like, so quickly. Like, you cannot come at it with a complete analytical mind. Of course, that's important, and that will help you grow and that will help you scale. But without a deep understanding of the people you're trying to market to, and you're trying to bring into this community, it's just not going to happen. So I guess you've got to look at it as, you've got your audience, which is everybody that ever sees your brand. I suppose if we put it into like modern day terms, that's the people that view your video on Instagram, right? You're going to get a lot, you might get a few thousand views, a million views, but the community is the people that keep coming back and leaving a comment. They like it, they share it, they start to integrate with your brand, and you'll see the same people pop up again and again. And it can only be nurtured. You can encourage people, you can pay to get exposure, you can put organic stuff out there, you can go viral, but the community very rarely will build itself. Like, it needs to be watered, it needs to be nurtured. I mean, something we did back in the day was a lot of like shout outs, and we do it now with Paddy and Scott's. We feature our B2B customers a lot. If you go through our reel, we're often collaborating with, you know, the baristas, the cafes, the hotels. You know, this is the way, you know, with Paddy and Scott's, a lot of our business is commercial, but it still works. You know, we're all people at the end of the day, so we all want to feel a part of something. So constantly nurturing and collaborating with people is probably the key way to build a community.
I love all of that, Matt, and I think an easy, well, not easy, the hard yards takeaway for people here is actually respond to people on social media, communicate with them, respond to their questions and queries and comments. And loads of marketing managers, loads of people within businesses, maybe businesses, they won't like that because it takes time and it has to be done authentically. But if your brand business is responding to comments on social media on your post, you're going to nurture that community you said there. And it goes from customers to advocates, right? And inevitably they end up buying more products and services. So it's not too much of a complicated science, but so many people tend to avoid it. I love what you've done there, Matt, around, you know, featuring your B2B clients. Again, like, it seems like such a simple thing. I can tell you one thing, Matt, from the consultancy clients that we've worked with on social, it's not even a part of their strategy. And it absolutely blows my mind because it's an open goal. It's such an easy one to do, and you build rapport with those people. So I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom on the community element of it, Matt. And what about building a brand? You've done it, you've been there, and you've built one firsthand. What does it take to build a brand from scratch, Matt? Many of our community are, as I say, leaders, marketing managers, etc. but I would say a lot of businesses probably haven't started taking their brand seriously enough yet. How do you really scale that and build it to the point that Paddy and Scott's have got to today, where they're loved, they're trusted, they're valued within the community? It seems to be a magnet of good people doing good things. How did you go about that?
Yeah, sure. And I'm happy to go into that. So Paddy and Scott's, for me, it's unique. Like, Paddy and Scott's a bit of a heritage brand at this point. Like, we're going to be 20 years old next year. I've been with the company for 2 years. So I came in and there was a lot of groundwork done. And fortunately for me, that groundwork was really, really solid, and it's really stood the test of time. And I think this is one of the key things when building a brand, is you've got to start from the ground up. And a brand is the all inclusive, and that kind of starts with, you know, your logo, your visual identity, which is then your fonts and your colors, your brand mission, you know, your ethos, what do you stand for, and all that is within brand. So it's not just a logo; it has to be about, you know, your purpose as well. And I guess when building a brand, you've got to think about it from the bottom and think about what's going to stand the test of time. You know, whether that is a very tried and tested font. I mean, Paddy and Scott's, we use 𝗖𝗵𝗁𝗲𝗲𝗲. It's like the most basic font ever, but we stick to it. And that's really important. You know, we don't divert from that. The logo hasn't changed. I think a lot of people, and especially as business goes on, you're going to have people coming in at the business, and you're going to change your mind about what things look like as well. You're going to see something that inspires you. So having a brand that allows room for creativity to be layered on top, but really strong fundamentals, really sticking true to your guns. I call it like idiot proofing, because, and that's not to say that you're going to have an idiot come in and change it. You're probably going to be the idiot one day. You know, you're going to have this idea, think this is the best idea ever, I'm going to completely change it. And that's going to just confuse your customers so much. So it's all about consistency and all about really strong, like, solid foundations from the ground up.
I love your point there, Matt, about standing the test of time. Everyone seems to be doing the next fad, the next gimmick, the next trend, and especially in my world, specifically around social media, organic social media. You go into a business and all they're doing is jumping on the latest trends, right? Or using the latest font. And I think there's absolutely something in keeping it simple, making it easy to understand, idiot proofing. Again, another bit of gold from you, Matt. I think that's absolutely superb. One of the things that I know that you're really keen on, Matt, because of your kind of, you know, filmmaking background, if you like, is storytelling. We've had 2 or 3 really good guests, James Hale from 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗶𝘀 being one of them, talking about storytelling specifically. I'd love to get your take on it with relation to Paddy and Scott's, if you don't mind, and how storytelling has worked for that business.
I'm sure like the other guys you've spoken to, like, everybody's going to say it, you know, like, civilization's like built on storytelling. It's how we convey emotions, it's how we teach people, it's how we remember, it's how we learn. You're much more likely to retain the information from your favorite, like, novel or action film than you are, you know, the piles of textbooks you read at school about history. You know, you're going to watch the Odyssey in a few weeks' time and you're going to remember every detail of it. But if you were to read the history books, obviously it's a myth, but, you know, you're not going to retain it in the same way. So I suppose, you know, at Paddy and Scott's, we do that quite simply. We love direct trade. We want to work with the farmers as closely as possible, and we could just label it as direct trade or fair trade or whatever, but that's not the story that's going to stick with people. The story is that we traveled to Kenya, we met the farmers, we shook their hand, we shared coffee with them, we walked the fields, the sun was shining, you know, and we decided that there was no reason why there should be 34 people between their coffee beans and our morning cup of coffee. Instead, we should shake hands, make a deal, and cut out the middleman. And, you know, telling it as a story, all of a sudden you've got reference points, and you start to remember, and you start to engage people on a more emotional level. You know, you can start to think about what the sun felt like that day, and you elicit other senses other than just your brain.
I think we might be getting somewhere here now, Matt, with relation to maybe social media content, which is probably why the majority of people tune into this show. You've said that maybe kind of like getting into those emotions. Is that the key thing for people to focus on when it comes to their social? Because the stuff that I see day to day on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, it's so surface level, it's so bland, it's so safe. And even when you schedule content, surely there's no excuse for not kind of, you know, sharing those stories and getting emotive with your language and speaking in the right language. Do you agree with that, or are there other elements? I mean, certainly with Paddy and Scott's, what are the kind of key component parts of your social media content?
More recently, we're really starting to lean into, and you're right, Chris, you know, at the end of the day, we're all like looking for something, and the more and more time we spend on social media and away from actual people, you know, we want to feel a part of something, right? We want to feel part of a lifestyle or a group of people, or again, that word community. So what we've started doing recently a lot is this focus on employee generated content as opposed to user generated content. So user generated content for the longest time was like the gold standard because it's trustworthy. But people are seeing through that. You know, they know that you can go on Fiverr and you can pay an influencer to shout about your product. You know, it's rare that you have somebody like yourself that's genuinely drinking a cup of Paddy and Scott's coffee and genuinely that's part of your day-to-day. You can pay for that at the end of the day. Whereas with your employees, okay, of course they're being paid for as well, but it gives people a view behind the curtain. And it's honest, or at least it should be presented in an honest way. I mean, something we really like to do is just ask people completely seemingly random questions about things and sticking that up on socials because it's relatable, because we're all just people at the end of the day. And when we all just long for connection. So I don't think it really even has to be too specific about your business. If you're able to provide a connection for somebody, for them to feel a part of something, then they're just going to be more invested in it.
I want to ask you about, we're going off the script from the questions I sent you, Matt. Forgive me. I love where we're going here. How did you go about harnessing? I know you said obviously there was a lot of stuff there prior to you. You're being incredibly humble prior to your arrival. But how have you gone about harnessing that content for that content culture, if you like? Sticking a camera in someone's face, it's something that marketing managers struggle with across the board when we go in. And again, if we're consulting on strategy, they say to me, "Oh, Chris, that sounds great. We'd love to do more video, but Derek in IT, he won't let me film him," or something like that. So how do you do it? Because I think all of the why behind it, he's so strong, Matt. Like, you know, sharing that. I mean, I know Paddy and Scott as one of the good guys, and that's because you constantly, consistently, in the right way, of course, talk about your people and culture within your business. What's the balance? How do you go about that, Matt?
Yeah, sure. It's tough, man. You've kind of got to like slowly cultivate that culture of it being okay to share these things, because usually people, you talk to them face to face and they're going to give you the best little nuggets of information, stories. It could be, they could just make you laugh. It could be the grumpy HR person who like actually is really funny once you get them away from work, or like the super charismatic delivery driver that's always got jokes. And like, they're probably not going to want to jump on camera. And it is going to be tough, but if you can find ways of working with them, you could just document what they do on a daily basis or just have a chat with them. It's not going to be easy, but if there's ways you can do it, and honestly, it does just take a bit of perseverance. People aren't going to be used to it to begin with, and everybody deserves their privacy at the end of the day. You know, if it's a hard no, it's a hard no. But I think if you can find ways of getting people's personalities, like genuine, not pretending, but their genuine personalities across to your customers, they're just going to fall in love with those people in the same way that we all do as co-workers.
I couldn't agree more with that, Matt. I have to do a bit of a plug and promo here. We've actually just added a new service to our business around just iPhoneography, and essentially going into a business and having a very informal interview style content. The camera's off center. It's not pointed at them to scare them. It's at the side, and they're simply just responding to my questions. I definitely think it's about making people feel comfortable, right? And all of the why and the how is there. You're so right, Matt. You've got to persevere with it. And I implore our community listening to this now to do, because the outcome of it will be more trust with your customers, right? And they'll buy more products and services. Matt, I want to go into the mistakes, if you don't mind. Looking back at your own journey, what's the biggest marketing mistake or mistakes, depending on how long you've got, that you see brands making on social media and more today?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's an extension of what we're talking about there, to be honest. It's undersharing and assuming the customer knows, because you know everything about your business. The customer knows only what you show them. And it's really easy to take that for granted. And you forget that actually you kind of need to make things quite plain and obvious. And when it comes to sharing, I just wanted to go back to that previous point, and I guess a tip about how to get your employees or your co-workers to share more. And it's not to have such a strong focus on the day-to-day runnings of your business, and more focus on people as people, the things that they like, because your customers are also people. So for us, coffee drink is fun. We don't have to talk about coffee all the time. We get bored talking about coffee all the time. We love coffee, but that's just the fuel for everything else. We're going to ask our employees, what do you think about the football? What's going on? It's hot outside, isn't it? Like, what do you do to beat the heat? These are the sorts of questions you can ask. And I think that is an honest mistake that everybody in business makes, is you are so enthralled in your day-to-day runnings of your business and your product, and you think, I need to sell this product now, I need to be talking about this product. But actually, we're all just people. And if you can just connect with people on a personal level, then when it does come time to sell, they're going to be invested, because they're already your friend. They trust you. So I think it's the mistake is not letting people in and not building trust.
Yeah, I think, that's so true. I also really like what you've said there around not reminding people, Matt. I think it's easy to just assume that our customers know about us, and then we never repeat, remind, frequently turn up. I definitely think a key part of any business's social strategy is sharing in an intelligent way, subtly reminding people of your business values, what you sell without selling it, all of those things, your story, your heritage, how you go about things, how you do things, the people behind the scenes. It's a shame, but then obviously people like you and I are in jobs because of it. So I think there's so much gold there, Matt. Before we finish, Matt, if you were to kind of maybe quick fire, if you like, your kind of biggest marketing lessons from your career up to being head of marketing, Paddy and Scott's now, what would you say? Like, if you had literally 10 seconds to tell people, right, quickly, here's what you need to know, bam, 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 bam. I'm putting you on the spot there, my friend. Sorry.
Yeah, you did, Chris. Jeez. I suppose what I will say, I think this is probably more broadly speaking, but what I've found is the lessons you learn along the way about everything that you do, there's no wrong turn. They're all lessons learned. And as a marketer, it's so, you are appealing to people's emotions. So it doesn't really matter. I suppose what I would say is be broad with your approach. You don't necessarily have to just look at marketing material or just look at advertisement. Read books, talk to people, be as broad of a person as you can, because the broader your knowledge spectrum is, the more likely you're going to be able to connect with different people at different times.
That is amazing. That's a great way to conclude. And actually, I'll just add on to that, Matt. I've such a keen interest in content psychology specifically as well, and something that I'm tuning into more than ever before. And it's surprising how many businesses make this mistake. They're so niche with their messaging on social that they completely alienate people from the off, and they don't think about a nice broad headline, attention grabbing tagline, etc. to begin with. Just capture everyone's attention and then go niche. And I think that's kind of, I guess, an extension of what you've said there. I know you've said have broad knowledge. I also think don't be afraid to have broad messaging as well, not to to appeal to the mass audience before you niche out. Matt, amazing conversation. We'll have to arrange a round two. That was so light touch for someone of your skill and experience in ilk. But thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Chris. Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I suppose I just wanted to say one final thing, just based off of what you just mentioned there, and that is
sure.
that I hate using acronyms for stuff, like marketing so full of acronyms. But my favorite, but this one that I've been standing by recently, it's just what you said, it's TAM, total addressable market. And just thinking about it like that, like it's you got to think broad with all these things because you never know who your customers are going to be. But
there you go. No, I love it, Matt. What a great bit of gold to finish. Thank you so much once again. And thank you so much to everyone that's watching live, watching back, listening back. If you've enjoyed this coffee with Chris, and hey, if you've got any questions for Matt, why not add a comment on social media? We'll be happy to respond to any and every comment as we've spoken about in this conversation. If you've watched on YouTube, do give it a thumbs up, a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, etc. And I'll see you this time next week for another episode of A Coffee with